Alrighty, beautiful and strong people. This is Coach Alan, and today we're going to talk a little bit about timing your warm ups during the meet day. Because during the meets, it's always chaos. Sometimes you may be in a situation which you're warming up too soon, and in some other times you kind of have to, cut short your warm up to actually make it to the platform. And in those circumstances, you may potentially be in a situation in which you're not really showing your best performance. So warming up properly during midday is going to be paramount to your success on the platform. Of course, this is something that you're going to talk with your own coach, but this is also something to actually communicate with your handler if your coach is not on the platform. I'm all the way from Romania, so for my athletes, I can't really be there. But for the circumstances in which we have moments in which we're competing together and we're just going with a group, those opportunities are when you don't really need to worry about this. But it's important to actually have this into perspective. Okay, so first of all, time your warm-ups generally in the gym. Okay, so if you're like 4 weeks out, take your squat, bench, and deadlift, try to warm up and see how much time it usually takes you to actually warm up. Okay, you're going to have a little bit of an idea, where within the ballpark you are. You're a 20-minute person, you're a 30-minute person, you're a 40-minute person. You need more warm-ups as to get in the groove, or you can actually, make bigger jumps and get ready to actually perform at your best. So however you're actually feeling comfortable, just make sure you're timing it so you have a little bit of perspective. That can be changed, that can actually be improved, but you need the starting point. Okay, so once you're actually having that starting point, you know that, hey, you're a 30-minute person. You're going to know on midday that you have roughly 30 minutes to warm up, okay, to properly warm up. Of course, this warm-up is more so related to warming up with the barbell. So anything in regards to mobility, anything in regards to activation should be done beforehand. Okay? In this circumstance, I'm only talking about warming up with the barbell alone. Okay? Once you have that timing, you can assign minutes out from when the competition is actually starting. This is going to be more so specific if you are within, let's say, the first flight on the squats. Okay, so if you're the flight that's actually opening the competition, okay, this is where your attention should be. Okay, so for example, if you are, if the competition starts at 16 o'clock, as an example, you want to start warming up with the barbell 30 minutes out. Okay, so you're grabbing the bar, doing 10 repetitions, how many you're feeling comfortable of actually doing with the squats, 30 minutes out, taking 3 to 4 minutes break, doing a 60, 26 minutes, 22 minutes, 17 minutes, 12 minutes, 8 minutes, 4 minutes out. Now, based on where you're going to be within the flight, you want to time that last warm-up accordingly. So if you are sooner within the flight, you want to make sure that you're actually warming up a little bit sooner. Okay, so for example, let's say you are somewhere around, you're the second to actually get on the platform. Okay, you want to warm up something like 6 minutes out, 7 minutes out, 5 minutes out, somewhere around there. Okay, 5 to 7 minutes out, so you're actually ready. You can perform your best on the competition day. If you are within, let's say, the last people that are actually going to lift within your flight, so let's say you're the third last person that's going to lift, you have a little bit more leeway. You can warm up 2 minutes out. You can warm up even when the flight is actually starting. You can take how many people are within your flight and within the next flights, or within the previous flight. You can take it as each person has like 1 minute, because according to the clock you kind of have 1 minute, but not everyone is actually using all that minute. On the other hand, based on how fast the athlete is based on, for example, how fast the spotters are, based on, for example, if something happens and someone drops the bar, you know that that is those are circumstances in which that time is actually being extended. So just taking like roughly 1 minute per person, you're going to have a little bit of perspective. So for example, if your flight is like 15 people, you're going to know that, hey, you're going to get on the platform roughly 15 minutes or 40 minutes after the flight is actually starting. So you can actually have your last warm up somewhere around, let's say, when the flight starts, like the second person that's actually stepping on the platform to actually warm up. If you are within the second, third flight, you kind of have to look on the flow of your flight below you. Okay, so let's say you are in flight 2 and flight 1 is actually going. If flight 1 is actually, starting to lift, you can get in the warm-up room and start warming up. But you do want to take under consideration how many people are in flight 1. Okay, so if there are, 50 people in flight 1, roughly 40 to 50 minutes for 3 attempts. Okay, so you're going to have 40 to 50 minutes at disposal. Okay, you can start assigning some warm-ups for each attempt that they're actually going for. Okay, so for example, 3 warm-ups on attempt 1. You can, play around with them and just look at the flow of the competition. For example, bar alone, when the flight starts, somewhere around the middle, doing your second one, doing somewhere around towards the end of attempt 1, doing your third warm-up. Okay, the same thing for attempt 2, having 2, 3, 4, warm-ups, and 1 to 2 warm-ups on attempt 3. Okay, of course, this is going to depend again where within the flight you are. Okay, so if you're a little bit sooner within your flight, you will want to warm up a little bit sooner within that attempt 3. Okay, if you are towards the end of that, you want to warm up towards the end of attempt 3. Okay, now there is one more circumstance in between lifts. So usually between the squat and the bench, between the bench and the deadlift, there is a break, roughly 10 minutes, somewhere around there. So we want to take that under account if we are within the first flight. Okay, so we will have to look at the third flight or the second flight, okay, the last flight, how it actually rolls. Okay, again, how many people there are, and take under account that 10-minute break. So you can choose, for example, to have your last warm-ups during the break. You can take 1 to 2 warm-ups during the break and work your way, backwards. So, for example, having your 3 last, 4 to 5 last warm-ups, doing them on attempt 3, and the first couple of attempts to actually do them within attempt 2 of the last flight on the squats. And this should pretty much prepare you to actually perform your best on competition day. Of course, again, this is something that you're going to discuss with your coach, but just having a little bit of perspective, having good communication, of course, with your handler, if you're going to be handled by someone, is going to be absolutely key, because you want to focus on your performance. You want to focus on doing what you actually need to do, and pretty much let the handler time everything, especially if that handler is there only for you. Okay, I hope this is helpful. If you guys have any questions in regards to timing up your warm-ups, just drop them down below in the comment section, and I'll see you next time.